Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We are headed to Atlanta in this Eastern Conference Finals series. Nate, we're going to touch on Game 3 after the Bucks walloped the Hawks from start to finish in Game 2 to knot this thing up. Make sure that you are liked and subscribed to that page. Jump in the comments. We'll have a prop here for you and a gift card giveaway opportunity. But you must be liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible for that. Give you that in just a moment. And as always, if you still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those local listings and playoff promo specials in your area. Nate, let's jump into Game 3 here.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, the Bucks never trailed. They led by 41 points. Just an absolute walloping for Game 2 to even this series. They open as 5-point favorites. It's been bet down to 4 points. The total opened at 224.5. It's been bet down to 223, which is less surprising.
Yep.
For the series, Milwaukee is now minus 400 after they were minus 200 after losing Game 1. And there's some bets I like there because I absolutely expect them to win the series, always have. And I think they can do it in 5 or 6. Either one, if you want to bet that exactly, is plus 240 odds. But if you just want to take the spread, Bucks minus 1.5, you're getting close to even money, minus 130 for them to win in 5 or 6 for this game series to not go 7 games. I feel pretty good about that.
So you're saying if you take the specific bet on FanDuel that the Bucks will win in either 5 or 6, they could do either, and then you get minus 130 on your money there. Yeah,
you just find the tab that says series spread, and it gives you a spread as if it were a game.
Right.
Yeah, on both sites it's available. And right now, the Bucks they've hopped over the Suns after the Suns lost. They are the favorites to win the title at plus 110. But yes, just looking at Game 3, I totally expect the Bucks to win. I think they can cover 4 points even on the road. My theory, both of us were kind of unsure about it. We weren't ready to completely disregard the Hawks' incredible Game 1 performance. But the theory that the Bucks were just emotionally exhausted from Game 7, from that entire series against the Nets, which was played at a finals level, proved to be absolutely correct. Once they woke up from that, realized that they had to handle business here, once they felt motivated by all the disrespect that Trae Young and John Collins heaped on them in Game 1, they came out like a house on fire, won the rebounding battle by 13, won the points in the paint by 32, turned 20 turnovers, including 9 Trae Young turnovers, into 25 fast break points. They've held the Hawks to 25% three-point shooting in both games now. And really the defensive adjustment was Drew Holiday's going to guard Trae, but we're going to have eyes on him. We're going to deny his penetration. The big is not going to sag all the way down and let him get into those mid areas. So it kind of looked like a matchup zone at times where guys are seeing both their man and Trae with the ball, getting in the passing lanes. That's how you got all those turnovers. It's going to be on the Hawks now to adjust and try to find ways to still burn them. But it seems like the Bucks strategy is just going to be like Trae can fire away from deep. Maybe he hits 40% of those, sure, but it's not going to involve the entire team. He got both in Game 1, 48 points, 11 assists. You can't let him go off and involve everybody. So right now, I think they have a good strategy in place that just says like, hey, you want to beat us from deep, go for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not giving up anything down low. And on the other side, you can't stop us down low.
100%. And I'll go ahead and give a shout out to Brook Lopez specifically. He got played off the floor in Game 1. He was trying to make that decision between coming in off of his guy and standing on the 3-point line to help out on the pick and roll, and then getting caught in no man's land between not even being able to guard Trae in the lane and not getting back to his man at the 3-point line. And he had 125 individual defensive rating in that Game 1. He had a 68 defensive rating in Game 2. And as you said, it's exactly the last point you made. Budenholzer, to his credit, seems to have told Brook Lopez, or somebody on the staff did, that he needs to just not worry about his man on the 3-point line, right? Trae is everything. If he's going to kick it out and start making, the other guys are going to start making some threes, then we'll live with that for now. But that strategy absolutely worked. And then on the other side of the ball, you mentioned, a number of people, there's about 4 guys in double digits there for the Bucks. Specifically, they had 29 assists in game 2, which is exactly how the Bucks play, right? They move the ball, whether it's a pick and roll with Giannis or whether they're just moving the ball around between 4 shooters and Giannis. That's a great way to sort of spark their offense. We saw 125 points there for them in game 2, only giving up 91, which meant that under still hit. And I think, the only thing I can understand here for why this started at 224 in the total for game 3 would be that the thinking that the Bucks offense has been found and will continue to roll, and the Hawks can't possibly score 91 points at home like they have, or the way they did in game 2. So you would think that maybe both of them will have a little bit higher totals. I disagree. Both of these teams' totals in this game are actually well over what they score for the Bucks on the road and for the Hawks even at home. The Hawks are slightly better at home numbers wise on offense and defense, but at the same time, they're actually their record is better on the road in the playoffs than it is at home. The Bucks, conversely, they're a big difference there, a big swap in their splits, or a big sort of noticeable difference in their splits between home and road in the playoffs. 6-1 at home, 3-3 on the road, and their net rating on the road is about 14 points worse than when they're at home in these playoffs. So pretty noticeable difference there. Specifically in that defensive rating. Honestly, it's very, very good at home and really not as good on the road. But I still think, as we mentioned, like combined points for these teams in these playoffs, it's still about 210 total when the Bucks are on the road and the Hawks are at home. So I really feel good about under 224. The 4 points in this game, just because of how poorly the Bucks play compared to how they play at home in the playoffs this year. That 4 points still it doesn't scare me that much. I would consider the parlay just as it is. But you mentioned earlier to me something I really like, which is the money line and the under there, and you get plus 240 on your money there. So I really like that one as well. But yeah, unders is the name of the game here. And honestly, as far as what's going to happen in the rest of the series, really, really like the bet that you mentioned as far as Bucks -1.5 total for the series. And I think game 3, while it could definitely be close, I do like the Bucks to pull this one out.
Yeah, so I am looking at that in terms of the Bucks winning a close game, but the numbers do kind of throw some caution at that, where the Bucks, I think, are 16-2 in games decided by 3 points or less, and the Bucks have a horrible record in close games.
You're saying the Hawks have a good record? Yeah,
the Hawks are great in close games. The Bucks are not, but they did kind of throw that narrative out in winning those close games against Brooklyn. I mean, Game 7 being close.
Yep.
I think that they can still win a close game, but I don't think that the Hawks are going to be close enough to force the Bucks to make plays down the stretch. I think it's going to be another lopsided to a smaller degree, of course, going back to Atlanta. But I just think that, if you can cut the head off the snake like they have with Trae, I don't see the Hawks getting to their team total, which is 110 on DraftKings, 109 on FanDuel. I definitely don't really see that happening. But I would look at Trae Young hitting at least 3 triples because of that defensive strategy we mentioned. You're getting really poor odds on that because it's so likely. But I would still bet that in terms of him getting over 2.5 threes. And I would look at Giannis points, rebounds, assists as he continues to fill it up on both ends. And Drew Holiday, again, just coming back at Trae Young, making sure that he does his part to keep the offense rolling. I also look at Brook Lopez. I mean, a little more of a wild card in terms of how much he's going to be able to play. I can't believe he still only had 1 rebound in game 2.
Yeah.
I think maybe at some point you will see that regress just based on how the ball bounces, and his rebound prop is only 4.5 with plus odds on him going over that. So that's something I would look at, maybe a small bet there. But yeah, I think Nate McMillan's quote said it without really meaning to say it so much. He just says that, the result shows that there's another level we have to get to as a young team. Finishing with they just dominated. And yes, they did. Yeah. They are on another level. They are a more seasoned team at this point as we get later into the playoffs, and they show that they know how to make those adjustments and big boy these Hawks.
It's true, and that showed specifically on the road for these young Hawks in the early part of this series so far. I mean, look, Trae Young had 48 in game one. Right. And short of that that performance really allowed the other role players to play very freely, number one. And number two, have a ton of the pressure taken off of them. Right. And so you saw a lot better performances from guys like John Collins, Herter, and Capella in game one. Whereas in game two, they all no-showed, right, to the tune of, like, I think between those three guys I just mentioned, a combined like 28, 30 points in game two, which is not going to get it done. 27 points I'm seeing here. So, specifically, though, you could feel better about betting some of those Hawks role players at home. When you look at, their crucial sort of secondary scorers, especially with Bogey still hobbled. But you consider the difference between these role players, specifically Collins, Capella, Bogey, and Gallo. They all combined for 11 more points at home in these playoffs than they do on the road. Specifically, I really like John Collins, who, even though he only had 8 points in this last game, 11, it's still, he still was the guy who seemed to be willing to take the shot when the Bucks are just pressing them and up by 20 or 30 points. His points, rebounds, and assists is at 25.5 here. He's averaging 26 at home in points and rebounds alone right now in the playoffs. So if you get his points, rebounds, and assists combined at 25.5 on FanDuel for about minus 106 on your money, I would feel really good about that one as well as we look at these role players for Atlanta. So either way, Nate, I think what we're saying here is, if anybody's blowing anybody out here, it's the Bucks again, in which case we both feel good about the Atlanta team under 110, 109.5 as we target that one. But we'll be looking for some offense to come from somewhere for these Hawks. Definitely Trae Young. We'll see who else steps up for them. But that is all the time that we have. Actually, before we go, I'm not going to forget our gift card. Make sure you're liked and subscribed to that page. Jump in the comments and let us know the total points for Trae Young, as well as how many three-pointers you think he'll make. So give us Trae Young's total points and three-pointers made for game 3 to be eligible for that gift card. And now that is all the time that we have, Nate. So we'll be back with another video for you guys as these playoffs roll on. And until then, happy betting.